Political panel time. Former Democratic Congressman from South Carolina, Joe Cunningham, and Republican strategist Mark Bednar, who was the head of communications, former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, and they both have, show up, come on, guys, good.
All right.
Yeah, just lighten it up a little bit, just lighten it up. Monogrammed cufflinks, look at that, very nice, very sharp. They're sharp dressers. They bring the A game to the takeout. So, Joe, if I can call you that, let me start with you. Jim Clyburn, he put out a fundraising email earlier, a couple weeks ago, maybe longer, and confirmed today he's running for re-election. Does that surprise you at all?
Not particularly. I think he was gearing up, and I mean, he's dropped a couple hints that.
There's this generational conversation going on.
Steny Hoyer and Nancy Pelosi both stepping aside. You figure, he might be on that list as well, but has decided to take another run at it.
And going to be reelected in all likelihood.
Yeah, in all likelihood. I don't see much of a primary challenge right now. But
how do you detect this war with Iran going over in South Carolina?
Well, we saw the comments from Senator Graham going back and telling South Carolinians to send their sons and daughters over to the Middle East. I don't see there's much of an appetite for it, and for a couple of reasons. Number one, I don't think there's been a clear definition of what success looks like or what the actual goals are. We've heard regime change. We've heard stopping Iran from developing nuclear weapons.
Ballistic missiles.
Yeah, but it's also coming on the heels of our generation of going through Iraq and Afghanistan and these endless wars. And I don't think America has the appetite for that. And look, if the Trump administration is able to accomplish whatever their goals are in a short period of time, then kudos to him. But if you start putting more and more boots on the ground and we start sending our men and women back in boxes to this country, and we start adding billions, if not trillions, to the national debt, I think what little appetite America had for this conflict is going to wane pretty quickly.
Mark, your specialty is communications of a political nature. How's the White House doing on this?
Well, I think the fact that
even Republicans tell me they're confused.
Well, let's take a step back. Initially, when the strikes first took place, the fact that that the White House engaged with the Gang of Eight prior to the strikes, directly after, and then with the House and Senate in that subsequent week, that's a really big deal. And that engagement, that communication needs to continue. But then the dual side track of that is also with the American public.
Right, because it's one thing, and you're right, to talk to all the senior people in intelligence and leadership, that's important, and have the briefings for all the rank and file members, but the American public are watching this minute by minute.
Right. So, and
as I mentioned to Congressman Rick Crawford, when the president yesterday says little excursion and war almost in the same breath, it's hard to match those two.
Well,
wouldn't you agree?
The military, the overwhelming force that the U.S. military has been able to demonstrate is that's important to wrap that up as soon as possible, and also to have that overwhelming force to actually show the American public that we do have not only the effectiveness to get this done quickly, but also to actually just execute the mission wholeheartedly.
Right.
But more communication is always a good thing, especially in a 24/7 news environment where the American public, to your point, Major, they can see everything that's happening in real time. So they need the bedside manner from the administration throughout this whole process.
And Joe, when Axios reports that if the Iranians are successful for any duration of time, blocking the Strait of Hormuz and therefore destabilizing global oil markets and possibly the world economy, he will get dug in. That doesn't sound like wrap up as soon as possible.
No, I mean, we saw comments from President Trump when I think he was in Kentucky yesterday, allude to the mission accomplished, right? We saw it was similar rhetoric. There's going to be a lot of effects from this, economic ones for sure. And again, I think America is going into this with already a high level of reluctance, and that's going to get even worse as the economic pressures increase, but also as American lives are lost and billions of dollars are continuing to be spent over there.
Mark, as you think about this from the vantage point of someone in House Republican leadership, how do you think they're trying to assess the next couple of weeks?
Well, we've seen reporting how Republicans are actually considering a go-it-alone reconciliation approach to potentially funding the munitions. I actually think that's a big mistake. Should they choose that route? On one hand, it's a better message for the entire country if there's a unified front, that you have Republicans and Democrats supporting this.
Not using a tool simply for the majority party's benefit, which is what reconciliation is.
Correct. But furthermore, on a political standpoint,
Pressurize some Democrats to say yes or no.
Right. Democrats should have to show where their vote is here. If it's just a reconciliation track, then they have an easy out. They can say, Republicans, this is on you. So hopefully that both sides can come together here.
So
and
evaluate that.
I mean, you got to give them something, though. You got to give the American people something, and you got to give Democrats something as to what the end goal is, what the objectives are, where's this money going, and where does it stop?
Because it could be $50 billion, it could be $60 or $70 billion in terms of another request for funds.
Or if it's a 2-week thing, or if it's a 2-year thing. I mean, right now, sitting here, I don't know what the.
What do you think most Democrats would do with a request like that?
I think there's going to be a lot of hesitancy to do that. And look, Democrats, I mean, we're all Democrats, Republicans, we're all Americans.
You want the military to succeed. You don't want to pull money from the military. You want them to succeed,
but let's bifurcate that, protecting our troops and making sure they succeed, to determining what the clear objectives actually are.
Mark, 30 seconds.
That's very fair. Like the American public, I think, everyone is asking, how long is this going to go on? But, it behooves the Trump administration militarily, economically, diplomatically, and politically to actually find a win and declare a win as soon as possible here.
Gentlemen, I appreciate it. Folks in the audience, you're talking about this at home. Got some pros here who understand how politicians talk about this. You got an insight into what that sounds like.